Today's subject was no storybook myth. He was a human. Ed was a handyman. He was a farmer. He was a seemingly average, though odd, man, blending in with the rest of society. It is 1954 in central Wisconsin. Now, one of the popular locations is called Mary Hogan's Tavern. She was a portly woman with a thick German accent, a foul mouth, and a pretty shady past. The rumors whispered about Mary Hogan would take on an entire new meaning. A farmer named Seymour Lester strolls into Mary's bar in the middle of the day, and Mary isn't even there to say hello. And that's when he peers over the bar and he sees a pool of blood on the floor. He calls the town chairman of Pine Grove first, which just screams small town.
Yeah, that's funny.
And then after that, he calls the sheriff's.
Sheriff?
Yep,
Yeah.
he calls the sheriff's office. Now, there is a .32 caliber cartridge on the ground. There was also a trail of blood leading out the back door of the tavern and into the parking lot. Now, on December 8th, 1955, Mary Hogan's case is no closer to closure than it was a year ago, until November of 1957, when another crime leads police down a path that will forever change Plainfield and its legacy. Bernice Worden. That day was a special one for the people of Plainfield because it was the start of hunting season, but 58-year-old Bernice knew the men might need supplies from her hardware store, so she did open her doors like usual that morning. The man working across the street at the local gas station noticed something strange. Bernice's son stops by the store to check on his mom. Not only is his mother not at the store like she should be, the cash register inside is wide open, though it doesn't seem like anything is stolen. And he notices blood stains on the floor. Inside the shop, there was actually a sale receipt for antifreeze. It was made out earlier that day to another local man in town named Ed Gein. And then in 1944, something happened that made people for the first time ever look at Ed Gein a little bit differently in town. So that May, a fire breaks out on the Gein's property. Henry, who is still living at the farm and helping his little brother, him and Ed get separated. He goes into town and asks for help from a few locals, including a deputy sheriff. So he goes and gets all these people, and then they get back to the farm, and Ed literally leads this group of people to exactly where his brother is lying on the ground. And they're like, how did you walked us straight to him. He looks at them and says, quote, funny how that works. There were a few who felt like, based on Ed's response and just their home situation, that maybe this wasn't an accident, maybe because he was critical of his relationship with Augusta or was threatening to leave. Unfortunately, that relationship between Ed and his mother wasn't long for this world either, because she supposedly had a really hard time coping after Henry's death. Less than a year later, she began suffering from a series of strokes. And in December of 1945, she dies after a second stroke at the age of 67. So he kind of begins 40 years old now. He ends up spending a lot of time at Mary Hogan's Tavern. This is the first victim that we covered. And Ed's lurking around town had become more noticeable by people. They were like, what is he always doing here? Especially around 1957, when he seemed to develop an obsession with a local businesswoman, a 58-year-old grandmother that actually bore a bit of resemblance to Augusta, his now dead mother, Bernice Worden, the second victim. Now, upon hearing his name, a few detectives begin looking around town for Ed. They want to talk to him. Some of them had gotten wind that Ed might be at a neighbor's home, the Hills, having dinner with them and their kids. So when police arrive, they find Ed sitting in the driveway with the Hills' son, and he was actually about to give him a ride into town. They knock on the window, Ed rolls it down, and seemed rather confused as to why officers were even there. And without any fight at all, Ed gets out of the vehicle and walks into the back of the squad car. As the officers asked Ed to run through his day, he immediately goes, I'm being framed. And when the officers are like, what for? He says, for Bernice Worden, followed by, she's dead, isn't she? So later that evening, two officers, just two, go over to Ed Gein's property while he's obviously not there to see if there's any sign of Bernice. The second the door opens, they are hit in the face with this horrific smell. There is trash and junk everywhere inside this house. They see this chair and they realize that the center of the chair has been cut out and replaced with like what looks like leather. I think that's skin. Like, is that a pig skin?
Oh my gosh.
What is this? So they see this chair and they're like, okay, this is very weird. Then they notice that the drawstrings to the blinds in the house, like the cord, is made of human lips.
Holy
like tons of lips.
No way, dude.
Yes. They go into where he sleeps, and on the bedposts, there are actual human skulls like sitting on top of the bedposts.
First of all, how is he getting this many? Like, hello?
I will get there. And just when they thought it couldn't get worse, one of the detectives felt something graze his back. So he turns around to look. There is a body hanging upside down from the ceiling from its heels. There's no head on the body. It has been cut from its chest all the way down to in between its legs.
Yeah, he was skinning him basically.
And when they notice the body, it's actually fresh enough that they realize this is most likely Bernice Worden. There's a bag behind one of the doors in the kitchen. There's a clump of human hair inside. He pulls it out and it's a woman's head hanging from a bag inside the kitchen.
Unbelievable.
But it's not Bernice Worden's head. It is Mary Hogan's. Now, when Ed was asked how the murder of Bernice Worden went down, he said this. He walked into Bernice's store that day and had her refill a jug of antifreeze. He left, but then immediately went back because he forgot something. He wanted to see one of the guns she had on display. He was thinking of buying a new model. While Bernice had her back to Ed, he took a bullet out of his overalls, loaded the gun that she had just taken off the wall to show him, and pulled the trigger. During the confession, he also admitted to killing Mary Hogan. He said the events were really similarly. He just went in, she was alone, and he killed her. He tells them something none of them anticipated and Garrett guessed. Oh, I didn't murder those people. I just took them out of the cemetery. So after spending 9 hours getting the full confession from Ed, he was taken to the county jailhouse where he would await next steps. Through his time in the state hospital, doctors dug into an even deeper issue. Feelings of attraction for his mother and feelings of hatred for his father. The idea that they come up with was that Ed developed obsessive or even conflicting attachments towards his mother. So after that 30-day assessment, doctors gave him an official diagnosis back then, schizophrenia. He was admitted to Central State Hospital indefinitely. A decade later, in January of 1968, circumstances changed for Ed. His doctor decided that he was now a little bit better after spending 10 years in the hospital. The whole thing lasted about a week. The results were rather disappointing. The judge found him not guilty by reason of insanity still. So he wasn't going to go to prison. He was going to go back to the Central State Hospital. And that's where Ed lived out the rest of his days. In 1984, at the age of 77, he died at the institution from cancer and respiratory problems. He was buried next to his mother. He became the inspiration behind one of the most iconic villains to date, which I don't think Garrett knows this. Norman Bates in the movie Psycho is based on Ed Gein. And he influenced other legendary monsters like Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
No, I don't think so at all. I was going to say...
Silence of the Lambs?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Gosh,
Buffalo Bill.
Yep.
In Silence of the Lambs. I do think as a fictionalized work of art, the show is good, but I just want everyone to remember that this show is fiction. The obsession with World War II and Nazis was real. He did have these magazines that would show the experiments Nazis did, and that's kind of like what inspired his work in his home, and that is my only hang up with it. But yeah,